Psalm 46 opens with a picture very similar to that. The earth giving way, the mountains falling into the heart of the sea. It's an image of total instability. Yet, right in the middle of this psalm, it declares that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Have you ever had the ground literally shake beneath your feet? I remember I was standing at a bus stop in LA when I experienced a minor earthquake. And for a moment, it felt like everything was unstable, like the ground was just going to fall out beneath my feet. I didn't really know what to do. I'd never experienced anything like that. But it turned out everything was just fine. It was probably just a small tremor, but it certainly shook me up a bit. And maybe you've had moments like that, not just in nature, but in life. Perhaps it was when a job just seemed to disappear overnight, or the doctor gives you news that you weren't expecting. When the headlines scream about wars and unrest, chaos. Psalm 46 opens with a picture very similar to that. The earth giving way, the mountains falling into the heart of the sea. It's an image of total instability. Yet, right in the middle of this psalm, it declares that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. And that's what we're going to talk about today as we continue our series, Firm Foundation. In this series, we're looking at what it means to build our lives on a foundation that lasts. Last time we talked about the foundation that endures, the unshakable foundation of God's Word. And today, we're going to see how that foundation holds us steady when everything else seems to fall apart around us. So let's begin with the first few words, the opening words of Psalm 46, verses 1 through 3. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. The psalm begins with a bold claim. God is our refuge and strength. The Hebrew word for refuge means like a shelter, somewhat like a safe place to run to when danger comes. Think of a storm shelter in the middle of a tornado or a fortress that's built on a high rock. God is described as that kind of shelter. And notice the confidence, therefore, we will not fear. Even when some of the most solid things in creation, the mountains, collapse into chaos, God's people declare, we will not be afraid. Everything that feels permanent in this world can crumble, but God remains our shelter. Today, it might not be literally mountains falling into the sea, but perhaps it's when the company downsizes, when bills just keep stacking up, when our community's torn apart by division and violence. The world just feels like it's spinning out of control. And what do? Here's the truth. We all run somewhere, or we run to something when chaos strikes. Some may run to money, seeking security. Some run to power or control, thinking, if I just do more, if I just place more effort into this, I can fix it. Some run to distractions, the endless scrolling of social media, it seems to numb our minds and numb the pain. But Psalm 46 reminds us there's only one refuge that lasts forever, and that's God himself. In verses 4 and 5, the psalm seems to shift. It shifts from chaos to calm. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, and she will not fall. God will help her at daybreak. Such a contrast, right? From the raging seas to a gentle river. And this is a poetic picture of God's presence flowing through the city, bringing life and peace. The word dwells, it's related to this idea of God's glory, his glorious presence among his people. And the psalmist is reminding us, we don't just have a God who is out there somewhere. We have a God that's right here with us. And this reminds us, I think, of the words of Jesus. Surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew 28 and verse 20. Even when the nations rage and the kingdoms fall, as Psalm 46 and 6 says, God's presence is unshaken. God's presence in the middle of the chaos brings calm. And that's why in verse 7 it says, with confidence, the Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Finally, the psalm in verses 8 and 9 invites us to look at what God can do. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. God is not just a refuge in chaos or a presence in trouble. He's the one who brings ultimate peace. And that brings us to verse 10, perhaps one of the more famous verses. Be still and know that I am God. You know, this isn't just a call to be quiet or to meditate quietly. It's not just a call to sit in our chairs and not fidget. In Hebrew, the phrase be still means to let go, to stop striving, or to cease fighting. It's a call to lay down our frantic efforts to control everything and recognize that God is the one who's in charge. But this is hard, isn't it? We live in a culture that celebrates control, achievement, self-confidence, and self-sufficiency. But Psalm 46 calls us to something radically different. To surrender and let go. To rest in God's sovereignty. And here's the promise. When we do, we find peace that the world can't take away. So what do we learn from Psalm 46? How do we build on the foundation of the Lord? I would encourage you in these three things. Number one is this: recognize that God is our refuge. When life feels unstable, run to him first. Number two, God's presence is our confidence. Even in the middle of chaos, he's with us. And number three, God's peace rules over the chaos. When we let go and trust him, he brings the calm that the world cannot offer. I hope this teaching has encouraged you, and I'd love to connect with you further. I would invite you to visit our website at SimplyRevised.org, where you can subscribe to our newsletter. I'd also love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to hit the like button. That way you won't miss any of the videos or lessons that we upload in this series. Our goal at Simply Revised is to encourage, equip, grow, and strengthen one another in the Lord. And it's certainly my prayer that the Lord blesses you as you continue to seek Him.